Dear Fang von Rathenstein, I am 16 and I want to start a band, get famous, and play all over the world. How do I do this? Buckle in. Hails, minions and mortals, this is Fang from Lords of the Trident, and believe it or not, I have gotten this email more than once. Since Words of Fang is basically my attempt to catalog all the lessons I've learned and mistakes I've made so that some 16-year-old in a garage doesn't make the same ones, you'd think this question would be right up my alley. But there's so much to unpack here, and am I even the right person to answer it? Have we played all over the world? Yeah. Are we marginally successful? Yeah. Are we a famous band? I mean, I guess it depends on how you define it, maybe? In any case, this video is going to be a crash course on the many things we need to unpack to answer this question. Think of it as a taster menu for the rest of your journey through the music industry. Okay, here we go. The definitive guide on starting a world-famous band when you're 16. You're not going to. Good night. Okay, let's reframe this question. You may not feel like it, but 16 is still really young. Which is good, because that means you've got a lot of time to learn, get better, and work on yourself, which leads me to my first point. 1, you need to practice consistently and get a teacher. No matter what your chosen instrument is, and even if you're just making beats in your bedroom, you need to have a constant and consistent practice schedule. The people that you admire, all the players that you look up to, all of them have spent years of their life practicing and mastering their instrument. No one is born an amazing bassist or drummer or singer. You have to learn and put the work in to get there. And yes, some people, due to their upbringing, environment, physicality, or what they've been exposed to, have more raw, natural talent than others. But without practice and dedication to consistency, that raw talent can only go so far. If you work hard, you can easily eclipse anyone who just skates by on natural abilities. You also need a teacher. Taking lessons is not cheap, but a good teacher can keep you on track towards your goals and can be a critical ear that will highlight flaws and shortcomings in your playing. I started taking voice lessons again about 2 years ago, and the difference it made in my technique has been night and day. Big shout out to Shelton Private Voice Studio. I've put a link in the description if you want to take some digital voice lessons. 2, nothing's really gonna happen for you until you hit 21. Yes, you could get famous online and start making that sweet, sweet YouTube money, which is to say $20 every other month. But remember that a lot of the music industry is built on drinking establishments. Depending on state laws, it'll be pretty difficult for you to even think about touring until you're legal to step foot in a bar. There are other options like all ages venues, basement shows, park shows, etc. But generally, the time between 16 and 21 should be used to finish high school, start college or a trade school, and most importantly, work on your playing. Imagine how much more traction you'd get when you bust on the scene as a self-sufficient, educated player who's dedicated hundreds of hours into practicing and mastering their instrument. Musically, you'd be a mile ahead of just about every other band, and while that's not everything, it does help. This leads perfectly into another point. 3, you need to learn as many aspects of the music business as you can. If you're really, honestly passionate about being a musician and being in a band, you need to learn absolutely everything you possibly can about the industry. In the Encyclopedia of Taekwondo, one of the first tenets that students learn is never tire of learning. A good student can learn anywhere, anytime. This is the secret of knowledge. So if you get tired of running your scales or working on songs, you can always devote some time to learning more about, say, how royalties work, how to shoot a music video, how to install a flamethrower on your guitar's headstock, regular stuff. I think more than anything, this is the aspect that really separates the people who are serious about music from the people who just like playing shows. There's a lot of aspects to being a musician that are frankly boring. Paperwork, applications, spreadsheets, data. There's a lot of logistical work that comes with making a band function. And if you're not going to do it, you're going to have to pay someone a lot to do it for you. Investing some time into learning about things like business marketing, contract negotiations, and band tax law will save you a ton of time, money, and heartbreak down the road Trust me. But Fang, aren't agents and managers and labels supposed to be doing this for me? Aha, that segues perfectly into my next point. 4. Starting a band and starting a small business are the same thing. Meaning that you need to make things happen on your own before anyone's gonna pay attention to you. You can't just drop an album and think that a manager and a label's gonna knock down your door and sign you. You need to grab people's attention first. After all, why should they spend their time and effort building you up when they could be chasing another bigger band who's already selling out their hometown? Pretend like you're starting a small business in your town. Maybe you're baking cookies and you want to be the next Nabisco. That's not going to happen until the people in your town literally can't get enough of your cookies. Once people start driving multiple hours just so they can buy your product, then you might attract some attention from the other players in the cookie game. And there's a million steps between making your first cookie to selling out your entire batch to some dude who lives in Kansas. No one in their right mind would expect to just open their doors and instantly be a hit, but somehow, this is how a lot of people think about their band. Bands, like businesses, will grow over time, but only if you put in the work. This is why learning about every aspect of the music industry is so crucial. You can pay someone to make a music video for you, or make it yourself. You can pay someone to print your shirts, or print them yourself. I made a video about it. You can pay someone to design your own posters, or do it yourself. But you can't do any of that if you don't know how. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that your brand new cookie business is not making enough dough to pay people to do all of those things for you. At some point, you gotta take a break from making cookies, roll up your sleeves, and freaking learn Photoshop. Once you do, you're one step closer to taking down the company behind Chips Ahoy. This is all to say, 5, make realistic goals and snowball them. In the world of finance, there's the idea of snowballing your debt. This means you put all of your effort into paying off whatever bill is smallest first, and then use that extra money towards a bigger debt, paying that off, and then repeating until you're debt-free, starting with a small snowball and building it into a bigger one. You can use that same approach for your band's goals. Let's say, for example, that your band's main goal is to headline Wacken, the world's biggest metal festival. Is that realistic? Currently, no. But could we make realistic goals that would eventually snowball into that? Absolutely. So before you're playing to a crowd of 75,000, let's start with a goal of playing to a crowd of 50. Once you reach that goal, snowball it into 100, then 150, then 200. Suddenly, these goals are not only realistic, but doable. And having that goal, just writing it down on a piece of paper and pinning it to your wall, creates action in the form of sub-goals. In order to get 50 people in the club, you have a number of other things that right now you may not know how to do. You've got to create ads, you've got to spread the word about the show, you've got to make a poster, you've got to rehearse your new stage moves. All of these things came from the simple act of writing down your ultimate goal. Every single band or musician out there should be setting realistic yearly goals, and I would highly recommend to print them out and put the list somewhere visible. So you've been smashing your yearly goals and selling out your hometown. Next step is getting the attention of a label, right? Number 6, labels are not out to help you, they're out to take your money. Okay, a ton could be said about this. And there's a lot of history here which I'd recommend you read up on, but labels generally are not going to be the ones to drive your success. Many of my friends are on labels, and many of them wonder what the hell the label is even doing for them, other than taking a large chunk of their money. Do they help out with PR? Maybe. Do they help out with management? Maybe. Are they a business that exists to take a large part of your income? Definitely. The really frustrating part about this is that the one thing labels can do is give you some sort of ethereal stamp of approval that you are a legitimate band. You could email a festival from your Gmail account and get 0 response, and then the next day get signed to a major label. If you email them again, suddenly they're interested. Nothing about your band has changed. Your songs are not suddenly better because you're signed. It's basically fast-tracking your clout. So, in some senses, labels still act as gatekeepers of legitimacy. Obviously, every band wants to be seen as legitimate, so it seems like a good idea to sign on the dotted line, but you have to know what you're giving up. Almost always, the labels own the right to your master recording. Without going into the nuts and bolts on this, it basically means that they own your music, and they get first dibs on the money that comes in. Many bands unknowingly sign 360 deals with labels, which means that the labels get money from touring, from merch, basically from anything a band does. In return, the labels should be promoting and managing and building you up as a band. But in reality, a lot of the labels still expect you to do that yourself. They might give you some PR, but if you want to do an additional $10,000 in paid placements and reviews, by the way, paid reviews, that's actually a thing, that might be on you. The label can also force you into decisions about the marketing, the look, and sometimes even the sound of your band. Oh, and that $30,000 advance that they gave you to record the album, most people don't know that's a loan that you have to pay back. It's not just free money. So is all of this worth the ethereal stamp of approval from a label? Who knows? Will more people take you seriously if you're signed? Most likely, yes. Is that clout gonna be what makes your band sustainable? No idea. If you take away nothing else from this, when you go in to negotiate with a label, understand what they're after and what they get in return. The trope of musician fights with their label is a trope for a reason. So if a label won't help you break through the noise, what does? 7. Connections with other bands and other businesses drive your success. Do you want actual clout? Be someone who is known and seen by your community. The best way to do this, and to forge amazing friendships that will last forever, is to connect with other bands in your scene. Go to other people's shows, share their links, participate in discussions, play mini tours together, and help them whenever possible, especially with younger bands. You never know who's gonna suddenly make it big. And yeah, maybe having the next Bruce Dickinson on speed dial will add some legitimacy to your band, but the bigger point is that you're creating relationships that will make your scene better as a whole. When everybody's friends, everybody helps each other out, the scene that you're in, whether it's local, regional, or national, is suddenly full of people who love each other and want to spend time together. That makes everything easier, and it makes other people want to start up their own bands. There's an old adage of, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and in the music industry, that is 100% true. You should also extend these connections to local and eventually national businesses. Thank you, SKB, we love you. Mwah. Crafting a relationship with, say, your local mead hall is not only beneficial in cross-promoting, it can lead to some amazing friendships as well. In all things, follow the old camping rule. Leave the place better than you found it. Last but not least, good songs don't make your band successful. Good fans do. Music is subjective. You can't write a song that the entire population of the world will love, and you might write an album that gets critically panned, but ends up being one person's favorite album of all time. Don't misconstrue this. Writing good, thoughtful, well-composed music is important, but what's more important are the people your music attracts. Interacting with and spending time with your fans is the #1 most important thing you can do. As a musician, it is your job. Small acts of kindness to people who look up to you can ripple endlessly through a person's life. Your fans make your band, no matter how many you have. So, keeping them happy and engaged is job #1. I know bands who have Facebook groups and subreddits full of fan stories about the time they got to meet the band, how nice they were, and how amazing it made them feel. To the band, these moments were probably very quick and simple, but to their fans, it meant the world. Whenever possible, you should strive to make those connections with your fans, because without them, your band wouldn't exist. Okay, seasoned bands, what did I miss? Let all the youngins know in the comments below. If you found this helpful, please make sure to do all the YouTube, like, and subscribe stuff. And if you want to really support our band and the videos we're making, please consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/Lords of the Trident. We are the #1 most supported independent metal band on Patreon for a reason. Go check it out. We'll see you next time.